Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. I am super happy to open this art festival and welcome you all this morning. My name is Marina Lazitic. For those who don't know me, I'm one of the co-chairs of this event. I organized it together with Charles and Stephanie and our amazing team. We're very happy to be opening up with this first workshop and are excited for the conversation. Our first workshop is a theater workshop, and our guests and leaders of the workshop today are director and actors from the Boston Experimental Theater. The rules are pretty much the same like we did yesterday. We're going to talk. Vahdat is going to lead us through the workshop. We have a lot of exciting kind of activities and conversations planned for you for the day, but I'm going to be watching the chat, so feel free to comment, ask questions, post everything in the chat, and I will either read them or call you out if you are comfortable speaking on camera. We're also recording this event. If anyone has any problem with the recording or doesn't want to be on the camera, also feel free to chat me either privately or to everyone in the group, and we will stop the recording. And not to steal more time away from our amazing workshop leaders, I'm going to give it off to Vahdat and let him introduce himself and tell us more about what we're going to do today together.
Thank you so much, Marina. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so very much for being here. I'm super, super excited for this event, especially at this very time that we're living here. Before I start, just want to share with you, I'm very happy to see Steve Marks, the producer of the documentary that we're watching, is here. And then we have some of the actors from the live stream play and documentary joining us. And also I want to thank Refugee in Town and everyone involved for running this conference and for having this such a beautiful idea here. So I'm gonna share a little bit of my personal story with you as a refugee, and then tell you a little background about the last dream and how it all came to work. And then we're gonna go and watch the documentary that is based on the play that we worked together. And after that, we come back and we will have hopefully an open discussion based on how we feel about the documentary, what we think about it, but also if we do have any experiences that we want to share. But as I said, some of the directors, playwright, the producer of the documentary, and some of the actors, and also the parents of actors are here too. So should we have any question for any member of the company, we'll be very happy to discuss it together. Let me share this idea with you, or this story with you. I came to this country in the year 2020. I'm sorry, the year 2002 as a refugee from Iran. When I come here, I just want to make sure if you guys seeing the speaker view here. Okay, because I'm seeing something good. Let me just check mine. Okay, there you go. So I came here in 2002 as a refugee from Iran. And when I came to this country, I already knew that I wanted to do theater as a director and producer. It was my passion. And I live in Turkey as a refugee in the transition. When I was coming here for 2 years, I was extremely inspired already by the idea of dialogue among civilizations. I was studying it. It's from Iranian philosopher, Dr. Yeganeh. But the whole idea was what he was talking about, 21st century and the desire of the connection and dialogue among different civilizations and different culture and how necessary that is. So I already had that in my background when I was studying, and I came to this country. I knew that theater is my passion and it's something that I need to know to do. And I realized there is two very important things that I need to do. One was when I came to this country, I could not speak the language at all, the English language. And as being a refugee here in this country, especially when we talk about refugee, I was documented. So I didn't have any problem for that, but I needed to be able to communicate with my new people, my new home the new life that I was going to have. So the language became a very, very crucial thing for me to start learning it as much as I could. But at the same time, as I mentioned, being inspired by the philosophy of dialogue among civilization, I knew that I need to be in dialogue with this culture, especially because I was going to do theater. And when we do theater in general, and art also in general, our conversation and our dialogue is not just the information that we're passing around. It's about the subconscious of the culture. It's about the feelings that we have, experiences that we have, and most importantly, the worldview that we have. We all do understand here that our worldview comes from our personal experiences. And I was very aware of the fact that if I'm coming from Iran to the United States, two countries cross the planet Earth with different experiences, different life stories, we're going to have a very different cultural experiences. So the worldview that we have and the understanding that we have, I was acknowledging it, that must be different. I was not believing that necessarily we're all going to be the same, because once again, our experiences was not the same. And also I want to do theater, so I really needed to be in touch with more audience members that are not necessarily from my country and not necessarily having the same experiences as I had. And I learned from the very beginning days that sharing the stories in general, being able to tell stories and listening to the stories is one of the best ways that we can have that cultural dialogue with one another. Why is that? Probably everyone here would know better than I do that when it comes to our stories, the stories that we have, either the folk stories or the stories that we're making, we're sharing our identities with one another. It's not anymore the information or logical information that is in our head, but it is who I am, my fears, my fantasies, my anxieties, my loves, my hate, my hopes, things that I went through that all becoming symbolized in every story that we had. I talked about the importance of learning the language of the new country I came. So through that, I could listen, hear, watch of the more stories from people to know where I am and how do people around me feel and how do people around me think. But also I needed to be in touch with them and I needed to be part of that dialogue with them because I didn't want to just come here to receive, knowing that that would not happen. That would be a fantasy. I needed to be a member, an active member of the community that I live here. So therefore, I need to be able to tell my own stories too. Either the stories that I love or a story I make or stories that are my own stories here. And that bottom line, to not really going much more of that unless anyone would have any opinion discussion about it later, that bottom line become my goal. Now let's go forward. I started my theater company here. I worked here at the kind of theater that I really love to do. I went to school and I got married and this whole thing. In 2018 was the first time that me and member of Boston Experimental Theater met some of the folks from Boston area that had TPS visa. And at the time, I had no idea what the word TPS was. Later, I learned it stands for Temporary Protected Status. And folks with the TPS visa or their children here can tell us more about it rather than me. Their story was very heartbreaking to me for many, many different reasons. One political reason and also the cultural reason. That is the most important one that I'd like to share with you. When I came to this country as a refugee helped me to pursue my dream of doing theater, which I did not have it back home. And that's why I had to flee the country literally. And that's why I had to be in the refugee camp for 2 years in Turkey in order to just survive, in order to just be alive. This country not only gave me the hope and also the opportunity to pursue my dreams, but it helped me to survive, be alive right now. After 18 years of being in this country, not only I pursue my dream of having my theater company, not only I'm alive, I have a job here, I got married here, I'm continuing my life and I have so many great friends and I'm very hopeful for whatever is coming out to me. when I met TPS folks, and that's my point, and meeting their beautiful children, some of which are here right now with us, and numbers of them are in the documentary we're about to watch, and I realized they are American people. They have born in this country, they've been raised in this country. This country is what they call home. The language that they're using is the language of their home language here. Yet the experiences that they had because of the policies that being made here against them was not the same experiences that I had. Think about it. These are young people that are about to go to college and they have dreams. Yet if they're going to be separated from their parents, can they really go to the college? Are they able to financially support that? If these young people are going to be separated from their families, are they going to be able to pursue their dreams and have life and build up their futures if emotionally they distracted? Just for 1 second, imagine that every night that you go to bed, you don't know if by next year you're going to be with your parents or not. And then imagine if you're a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 12 years old. I don't want to really make this conversation dark, but this is a reality that we have to acknowledge and know about these people. The people that are part of our community, are born and raised in our community, have done a lot for our community. And all of the sudden, by just making some policy, and that part is very important to understand when we're making the policy, how is it going to affect? We're going to separate this number of family and we're going to affect them. I was brokenhearted. Every member of my company, when we were there and heard this story, we were in tears. We were already working on another show at the time. But then in that very day, with no really long conversation, we all decided that we're going to stop our project and we have to do something about this story that we heard. I'm going to go back to the beginning of my conversation when I was saying in order to learn about the new culture here, I needed to share stories. So we thought the best thing that we could do, literally just to share their stories, to help them to tell their stories, to share their identities, to share their existence, their fears, their love, and who they are with other people, with the audience member, with the spectator, with the community members, also with the lawmakers who making the law. So we decided to create the play together with each other, writing the script, designing the play, choosing the music, designing the costume design, all based on the stories that we were sharing together. And then we decided to bring these stories to the different universities and then bringing it to the lawmakers. We brought it to the Boston City Hall. We brought it to the US Congress in 2019 when we had the new house, when at the same time, TPS organizers and allies were lobbying day and night with the lawmakers. They were rallying children and parents in the DC, and they were doing the interviews and everything else that they could do. We were performing the show to share this story with everybody else. And then later we thought and we learned it's a live theater. We cannot just bring the play everywhere, anytime. So then we asked BNN and Steve Marks here to help us to create the documentary so we can have the wider audience member just like today. So to use the time, I think this will be a good timing for us to go and watch the documentary. It's a short documentary, about 22 minutes. And then while you watch the documentary, if you have any comments, please put it on chat. Marina, I think, will tell us a little bit more about it, or write it down. And then we come back and then we will have the open discussion. I'll be here. Some of our actors that you're about to see in the documentary are here. Some of their parents are here. And by then, the national coordinator of national coordinator of the TPS Alliance, José Palma, will be here too. And I'll be very happy to hear your thoughts about the movie or answer your question here.
I posted the link for the film in the chat. So please go ahead, click on that link, make sure you unmute yourself And we will all be watching the film together, but I will also be watching the chat. So feel free to post, like Vahdat said, and then we'll come back and chat more about what you saw.
Thank you so much. My video is over. I hope I'm not talking over people if they're watching the video. I take that as...
Yeah, I think we're all set.
We all set. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching the documentary. Someone in the chat asked if they could share the video. This is exactly the reason that Boston Neighborhood Network helped us to make this documentary. Steve Marks is here. He can talk more about it, but the reason was to share the story. As I said at the beginning of this session, sharing our story is the most important part that I think it helps us to integrate with the community that we live in, to understand who we are, where we're coming from, what is our identities, what are fears, our anxieties. That being said, it is very important for me personally to share with you that these folks, first of all, José Palma is from the National TPS Committee, but also the father of some of the TPS actors who are in this show is with us. Thank you very much for being here, Jose. Berlinda, one of our mother, is here. Francisca and Sofia, the younger member of the actors, are here. Donia Yeganeh, one of our co-writer and co-director and the choreographer of the plays here. So I'd like to open this discussion to anyone if you have any question to ask. One thing that I wanted to mention is that at the same time that the national TPS communities being lobbying, working with legislators, working with politicians, they believe strongly in the power of art and communication and sharing the stories with all their allies. Tam Marco from Emerson, I do believe, is here. She was with us, who came in and helped us and helped the TPS community to create the magazine. The magazine is online now for anyone who would love to learn more about TPS. I strongly suggest you to check masstps.com. Thank you, Tam, for adding that. And then in masstps.com, you'll be able to see the magazine that they've been working on. You'll be able to share this video and you'll be able to learn more about TPS. So this is for me. Marina, I don't know how you want to continue, but anyone have any questions, or if you want to share your thoughts or feeling, we'll be very happy to answer your question or hear to your thoughts.
Yeah, I would leave it open for everyone. I do have a few questions. I'm sure Vahdat too, if you want to share, if you want to invite some of the actors or anyone else to share with us too, but we want to keep this flowing conversation. So we got a question from Carrie, who's asking to hear more about the use of puppets.
I think if some of the actors, Francisco and Sophie, do you guys want to share some stories or about the use of the puppet, or what did puppet meant to you? How did it look like, or how did you work with it?
Hi, I'm Francisca. I'm a part of the last stream, as you saw in the documentary. So the puppet, or as we call like the monster, it basically symbolized like our fears and like the government that is trying to take our parents away from us. And like we saw it as a big symbol of like stuff that we have to overcome and stuff that we shouldn't let get to us, and what we are fighting for, what we are fighting against. And the puppet was like a big symbol of that. And like every time we saw it, every time the crowd saw it, the community saw it, it was like like everybody remembered it. Everybody remembered the last stream and the puppet, and how on one side it was bright and happy and it was green, and it was a wonderful thing to look at. And then once it turned, it was a monster, and it scared people, and it it scares, and that's like what we live in. We live in a scary world. It's not always unicorns and rainbows, how Disney taught us when we were younger. But once you grow up, the world is scary, and especially our community right now, with so much that we're dealing with the virus, with Black Lives Matter, with all these immigration movements. That's scary. Especially, I never thought at 9 years old that I would have to um, do stuff for my parents to stay in this country. I didn't have to. But my little sister at 9 years old, she had to. She had to go and speak up. She had to spend her Sundays in meetings and in rehearsals because she wanted to make a difference for my parents to stay here. And that's the scary world that we live in. That's the scary world that we have to overcome. We can't let our fears take over us, or then it's like we're proving nothing. We want to prove them wrong, and the puppet just symbolized how scary this world was, how it's not always green and bright, but it is scary in the scary world that we're living in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Francisca. I was actually curious to hear more from you and Sophia as well about your experience and how you felt telling your story.
Hi, my name's Sophia. And my experience, well, while I was like doing everything, like performing, it was actually very scary because you don't know how people are going to react to your story. And I mean, of course, I was nervous and everything, but at the same time, I knew I was making a difference in people's lives, and I was fighting for my family to be able to stay here without having to worry, like, that my parents are going to be with me. Like, every kid wants to be with their parents. I mean, that's part of growing up, is being with your parents. And I was scared that I wasn't going to have that anymore. So that's why I have to make the difference. When I was 9, I had to start speaking up. And like Francisca said, I had to go to meetings every Sunday.
Sophia, I think we lost the sound for a second. I think we lost her. Vahdat, are you there?
You're muted, Vahdat.
You're muted. Okay.
Sophie, sorry. Sophie, I think you got muted. Can you try to unmute yourself? All right, you're back on, Sophie, if you want to finish your thought.
But well, yeah, I chose to go to those things because I did want to fight for my family. Mm-hmm. And
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We do have a few questions from the audience, so I'll read them out. With that, I think this one is for you. People are interested to hear more about your process. So can you tell us a little bit more about the process of working with young people, especially when it comes to, re-traumatizing and managing concerns like that, as well as parental consent? So can you share with us a little bit about what the process was and how you involved families in it?
Wonderful question. This is one of the biggest concern when we start working with community, especially working with younger age, when we're going to tell these very, very vulnerable stories that you can see. Not every time they're telling their story, it brings tears to our eyes, but every time I hear it, and doesn't matter how many times I have heard this story, watch the play, then watch this beautiful made documentary, that it brings tears to my eyes. There comes the question that, is it safe to tell this story? Is it safe to go on a stage and perform this story? Berlinda, as one of the mothers here, can talk about it. José Palma, one of the father of the actors, are here, can talk about it. It was not easy for them to watch their kids to telling the real story. It is not hard for, it is not easy for any parents to watch the children that tearing up on a stage and telling the story that they have the fear of losing their parents. Yet at the very beginning of it, when I had conversation with José Palma, we both started producing the production together, and then the conversation we had with parents, we believe strongly in the catharsis of being able to share our pain, to share our fears with others, understanding that there are other people in the room that understand us and they are with us. Going through the process of the rehearsing the production, and then as Sophie mentioned, that how scared we all always are as a performing artist, going on a stage gonna be very scary. End of the show, knowing that there were more people that we could see it in their eyes, we could hear it in their breathing, in their sound, that they understood us and connect to us, had that feeling of the relief that I'm not alone in this one. So one thing is, today we have a different idea of how people acted or reacted to our show after 2 years continue performing it. But in the first few days or the first few performances, not knowing how people are going to perform it, to react to it, the whole desire that we had was, we are alone. TPS people are alone. Not many people hear from them. Not many people talk about them. We need to bring the voice out there. We need to be able to share our own story with them. This is from me, but I don't know if Jose from a father or Berlinda from a mother, you want to share some of your own experiences of being in the rehearsal, watching the process of creating the play, but also watching the play.
For sure, I can say something. Hi, everyone. My name is Jose Palma. I have been an organizer for about, maybe like more than 10 years, but I have never worked in a campaign that have impacted me directly and have bring so much pain directly, as I have worked in some other campaigns that benefit us all in Massachusetts, like earn sick time. I was leading the North Shore area. I was coordinating like 37 cities and towns, collecting signatures, getting people out to vote, for people now to say, I have 5 days earned sick time in Massachusetts. But working on TPS is a little bit different, since I also have TPS. I'm originally from El Salvador. I have seen this girl because I know them since they were pretty much born, and I have my own 4 US citizen kids. I will say that in preparation to everything start from the idea when we knew our TPS was going to be canceled. I will connect that the whole preparation started there. When at the beginning stage, when I was sharing with my friends and family about TPS, and I said, we either do something or we will be deported. And everyone said, including Berlinda, said, let's do something. At the beginning, actually, I was telling my kids and all my friends' kids to say, you know what, we're gonna deal with it. You guys continue focus on the school. You guys continue enjoying life. Things will be okay. But you know what? Kids are smart. Kids are smart. They know what's going on. And they said, no, this is getting bad. Can we do something? We want to do something. And then the opportunity came through the conversation about theater and say, okay, this is something, if you guys want to do it, go ahead. This is something we can, it will support the campaign. And that's how the whole process started. having conversation with the kids, even Vahdat can testify, and everyone who participated, that at the beginning when we were all crying so much, we said, is this something that we really want to do because it's so painful? We even invite some psychologists to come over and participate in the conversation with us to evaluate. And psychologists said, you know what? It's better for them to cry together than cry themselves in the room, hiding by themselves, that you don't know what's going on in their head. At least they know they are doing something. So that was pretty much the beginning of the process. And then everything else is like, we can continue talking, but I would say that was the beginning of the preparation, coming from them to say, I want to feel useful. I want to do something, because TPS is not impacting just you guys as my parents, but it's impacting us too, directly. So this is a family effort. So everyone is in a campaign. Yeah, I will stop it there to give my friend Berlinda some time to say how, as a mother and as a TPS recipient too.
Hello, my name is Berlinda, and TPS recipient. In my experience, it's hard. Sophia, my daughter, is in the play. Each time I cry, because it's not a story of the families. It's my story. It's the story of the old families around the country, in different countries, living in this country, TPS temporary protection. It's hard to say something because my heart broke. This is my problem. In the beginning was say Palma, talking about she want to make a display, and the childs, they make it more strong. They say, I want to do something. And this is I do it because they want to do something for the families. They want to stay with the parents. But in the first months, when I each week stay together, all smalls prepare everything, and feel so sad all the time. When this story, the families, and this the proper story is difficult to talk about that. I also feel sad, but I'm happy to do something make a change in the whole world about how immigrants. But this is not it's only for my family; it's for all of us.
Thank you so much. That's really amazing. I wanted to ask one question. I was curious at how you actually arrived, because Jose was just saying, well, we thought then of theater. So I'm curious how you arrived to the idea of theater being one of your campaign tools in organizing, and why you picked that medium. In particular, we had a lot of conversation yesterday about the storytelling and power stories, and we could see it too in the documentary that, the congressmen and representatives were responding and saying, wow, it's so amazing to see people and hear their real stories and kind of get, distance from the figures and reports and numbers we're seeing. So I'm curious about that. How did you arrive to the idea of theater, and what your impression is of the storytelling? And that goes together with another question. So the second part that Stephanie had asked in the chat, she wanted to hear more about the impact of the play to stop deportations of TPS status holders.
Yeah, for sure, I can say about that. But I think Donia was trying to say something.
Yeah, thank you, Jose.
Sorry, Donia.
Okay, no. So actually, my answer I'm gonna answer your question and last question too. I'm educator too, and I studied children psychology for years. So is this situation safe and secure and healthy for these children? The answer is no. But can we change it? The answer is no, because this is the law, and we cannot make any promise for these children if we can change the situation and what they are going through. But if they share their stories and anxieties, and if we acknowledge their fear and pain, is it going to be the best solution? Yes, the answer is yes. And we know that if we give the voice to them and they see how the others acknowledge their pain and they do have a sympathy for them, it's gonna be really good. And that's why, because we are doing in Boston Experimental Theater, we are doing theater. This is the job that we do. So when we heard about the TPS, so we offered them that we can make a theater, and we believe that theater can be a best way to share this story with others and with a really big group of people, and then have this dialogue, which is gonna bring the sympathy from the others for them. So yeah, that's why we decided to do this show. But maybe Wahdat has more about yeah.
Go ahead, Palma. I think if this is something, yeah, Jose can say something about it, and then I will add too.
Yeah, what I can say with how we ended up with theater, I think is based on our own experience. In 2017, we were told you have 6 months to leave. TPS recipient said, we have been here for more than 20 years. Our families are here. Our kids are here. As every parent, I think it's no something different than many of you as a parent, we decided to do everything we can to stop that and make sure our kids can continue living in the US. And then I think it's something I always said is like, sometimes life prepare you for what is coming. I grew up very poor, like many other TPS recipients in El Salvador. We didn't have a bicycle, but we were, playing with just the wheels, pushing the wheels, imagining that we were riding a bicycle. Or, we didn't have like, big and beautiful toys. We will invent ourselves, and we will use whatever we have to be happy. And I think when it comes to the campaign, we have been using a strategy that is nothing new, more than the imagination of transforming what we have into what we need to get what we want. From that imagination, we dream about what we want, which is protect our families. We want to achieve permanent residency. We want to pass a legislation. And then we use every tool available and every help we can get. So in that sense, as an organizer, I have been playing the role of coordinator for the Massachusetts TPS committee. And last year, I was actually the coordinator for the national campaign with the National TPS Alliance. Many people will say it's a lot of work. It is. And on top of that, I have to fulfill my responsibilities as a paralegal and my regular job during the day to be able to get the money and pay for the bills and support my family. And on top of that, we lead in this campaign. And so how we ended up with theater is like pretty much putting those three things in practice and having conversations. I remember one of my friends work in a restaurant in front of Harvard, one of the buildings in Harvard. And Jared Wright, who's a colleague with Dee and Donia, asked my friend, wow, I heard about TPS. And my friend said, yes, I have TPS. And Jared said, what can I do? And my friend said, I don't know, I'm not involved in the campaign, but I know somebody who's really involved in this campaign. He will be able to tell you how you can help. So we met with Jared. And Jared said, everything I know is that I was born here, I'm white, I'm going to Harvard, and I am part of a company who I am sure, after understanding what's going on, will be down to support. And then he said, what we can do is theater. And I said, let's do theater, because stories will help to make people. Something also I have in my head that I learned from another artist long time ago is that, and he said, art sometimes can help you to get in somebody's home through the window and getting out through the door, because they are able to understand through different ways. That's what we did. We start having conversation about theater, and then we say, but what can we do? And then from a training about sharing stories, the idea of doing the play came about. And from the play, eventually Steve said, I'm expert in producing documentaries. I'm professional. That's my job. How can I help? Well, can you help us to put this play in a way that people can continue watching it, even if we are not able to be there? That's how everything has been together. Like now we are just launching a magazine If you were asking me, I just went to school to ninth grade in El Salvador. I have no idea how to put a magazine, but Tammy's expert on it. And she said, I want to help. Okay, can we have the stories? Can you put them together? Now we have the magazine. So that's how everything have come together. And that's where we are. Are we making an impact? 3 years ago, we were told you have 6 months to live. 3 years later, we're still here, we're still fighting. We are almost losing though. If nothing happened by March 5th, close to 200,000 people will become undocumented, will be losing their immigration status. And if nothing happened for us, November 5th, we're done. We are undocumented after 22 years. And that may sound like, okay, one more undocumented. Well, we will be losing our work authorization. We will be losing our driver license. We will be at risk of being deported. Maybe some people will get deported. And our kids, like Sofia and Francisca, will have to decide if my mother is sent to El Salvador, should I stay by myself here or should I go to El Salvador, where, by the way, they never have been. So, but all in all, that's how the whole theater idea came to play.
I would just like to add one of my really the biggest fascination with the TPS campaign, very especially in Massachusetts, but also in national, that taught me something that I've never learned in any schools or throughout my life, that how much this campaign believes strongly in the power of the community. They do believe that they are from this country. They've been contributed so much to this country, and they believe they are not just alone. They're living together with Iranians, Americans, Salvadorian, and many people from many different countries together. When the idea of the theater comes through or came through, or later the documentary, or as Jose said, the magazine that Tam Marco helped us to do it, any other organization, first and most important of all, would think about the resources. And this is something very important. How much money do we have? Do we have the rehearsal room for it? Where are we going to perform the show? How is it going to perform? So based on all those resources, how are we making the play? How many actors do we have? How do we do the stage design? Same comes to the documentary. How much resources do we have? So how are we going to make this documentary, especially come to the cinema, then you have to pay for the camera. You have to pay for the editing. The most beautiful thing that I learned from this campaign and this work is we first decided to do the thing and then started learning that, okay, how can we work based on what we have? One of the biggest and scariest thing for a lot of people in theater, in art, in everything else as a company or as an organizer is I don't have as much that I'm supposed to have, and I don't know what that means. Jose talked about the power of imagination that we had as a kid. When he said he didn't have the bicycle, he had the wheel, and he would imagine riding the bicycle with that wheel. That's exactly what we did with the play. Let me share this story with you. When we decided at Boston Experimental Theater with Massachusetts TPS Committee to do the show, we had no idea where we're going to perform it or when we're going to perform it. We just said we need to start rehearsing and let's see what we can do. Little we knew that we found BU to help us. When we say BU, remember, there is no Mr. or Mrs. BU. There are human beings who work there, heard what we were doing. They started helping us and said, how about if you come and perform your show here? That story goes on. We did the first performance, and then we started looking what else we can do. There it came Harvard again. Somebody came and helped us and give us the space. What's happening right now? And then Steve Marks came to the process at the very beginning of it, and he brought his cameraman, Ed Slattery, to just shoot this video without knowing what we were going to do with this video. He and Ed were there in every single performances that we had, helping us with their knowledge for even lighting, bring us some lighting kit. In one of the production, our speakers got cut out just before the show, and they brought us some microphone and speakers in there to just help us to perform the show without asking for anything. Later on, as Jose said, after a few months, Steve and I talked about, and we said, Steve, by now you have hours and hours of the footages from this show, and we're not able to perform the show all around the country, but can you help us to create a documentary? The answer was just yes. Then he can talk about it more, that how that came through. I don't know. Next thing Jose and I knew, the documentary was there through one of the showing of the last stream, exactly like what we're doing right here. And I'm talking about the power and importance of it. It's because of the documentary that he helped us to make now based on the play. One of the showing was at Emerson, and then Tam Markle watched the movie and was touched. And she came forward to Jose Palma and said, I was touched. How can I help you? Few months later, during the pandemic, when we were not able to see each other and we all were a little worried what's going to happen with the campaign, because pandemic shut down the country, but the time for the visa, for the TPS status to get canceled did not get shut down. Congress or the Senate did not say we're going to make a pause in here. Their time was running out. During that time, we all meeting here and never ever met once even in person. Tam helped everyone and the TPS committee come with a magazine that now is telling more of their stories. Shorting the idea is, when in the community as refugee, as others, as immigrants, we want to contribute to our own community, we work with our limitations and work with our imagination first before working with our resources. Having the imagination of having the wheels and imagining that I'm riding the bike was exactly what we did. That we imagine of doing the play, later we perform the play. Imagine of having the documentary to share the story, then we perform the documentary. And look at the beauty of it here. We have people from El Salvador in this company. We have people from America. You have people from Iran, just the people that I'm seeing in this Zoom link right now as the company. None of us really ask about each other's culture or belief or religion or political point of view. We just knew that we live together in the city of Boston and we need to help each other. And as Jose said, 3 years later, they are still living in this country and they're still fighting, which I'm just gonna take the agency here and say that how crucial this election it is for these folks. If you watch the documentary and you felt the documentary, please understand that some of these folks are still going to bed not knowing what's gonna happen in 2021 in March 5th, when TPS is about to be canceled. Marina, if we do have time, I just want to give a second to Steve Marks, who's being a very important part of this process. And to be fair, we're watching this documentary because he joined the campaign and said, let's make the documentary, if he has something to share with us.
And in some cases, expending his own money.
You know, this is absolutely not the joke. This is the belief that we have no idea how this came together. It's a local television channel called Boston Neighborhood Network made a documentary that is going all around the country, helping literally 400,000 people. In the capitalism of the art companies, normally when you make the art, you're looking to see how much you sold tickets, how many awards you got, how many people watched it. How many times have you talked about how many individuals have been helped by this movie or by this play? 400,000 people around the country being able to share their story because a local TV channel, not the big Hollywood company, a local TV channel came and said, I'm a producer and I'm a camera person and I'm the editor. Laura Bean was the editor. How can we help? And Steve Marks, go ahead. And it's important to say the movie eventually got nominated for Emmy, I'm sorry.
Hi, thank you very much. Like I said, I'm Steve Marks. I'm the producer of this thing. And to take Jose's example, I'd say that it's very important to be able to imagine the bicycle, but at some point, if you actually want to get from your town to the next town, you've got to make a bicycle. You've got to actually find a way to make it work. And imagining it is a first start, and it's very important. But the nuts and bolts of pulling together the play, of pulling together the documentary, that it doesn't just happen by magic. It happens because a number of people, and I would certainly say the camera person and the editor really had to contribute time. I had to contribute time. We had to put in money. I'm luckier because I had a career doing video, and I had a little bit of money. The others did not. They absolutely did not. And one of the things, and we're still going, and with the permission of Marina, or I guess it's Stephanie, we would love to use the recording of this as part of the ongoing effort to keep this going. We're trying to keep the documentary for us is not finished. We tried to finish it in the sense that it would be useful, that there would be something it would be finished enough for people to be motivated to help with this process. But we want to keep going because the process isn't finished. We have not achieved permanent status for the people with temporary protected status, and the goal is not to have a play or to have a movie, but the goal is to have a permanent status for human beings, for the people. And that's what we're really, that's what we're really about. So I am now, in my role as producer, actively asking these two people to please let this be available to us to use with credit, with whatever, because we're trying to make a bicycle, and we're trying to get these people on their bicycles to ride from where they are to where they want to be. That's the goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as far as the recordings, we're recording all of our sessions and we'll make them available on our website, but we're happy to share the video with you so you can do it whatever you want with it and edit it to fit in your other material, or yeah.
Thank you very much, because we're not done. We're not done until these families are here and they stay here. And I'd just like to say, I look at the screen and I see the people's names. I see Rowe, Marco, Khan, Landaverde, Lazatich, Khoury, Johnson, Jepson, Rabrenovich, Preston, and I see Shapiro Kim right in that name. I see all these names and I say, this is the America that we want to believe in. This is America, which is a rainbow, and it is all of these people from all over who are part of this. And Vahdat talked early about cultural diversity, but this is supposed to be the country which embraces cultural diversity. And to take one of the greatest American writers, Mark Twain, Huck Finn says he doesn't like the formal cooking where he is in the nice bourgeois household where everything is separate. He likes a stew where the juices kind of swap around, he says. Well, I like a culture where the juices swap around, where we have all of these different, we have the imprint of Farsi culture, of Farsi language, of Spanish, of Jewish, of everybody, is all here, and that's what can make us richer and more. It can actually make us better people, and we need to be inclusive in that way. Sorry, that's my little. Thus endeth the reading for today. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Steve. And we're very happy that we can contribute to that vision and help building that bicycle. I see that Tam has her hand up. Tam, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not driving. I'm a passenger, in case you're wondering. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for hosting this conference, workshop, and so forth. It's been such an honor to work with José, V, Jared, Steve, and everyone from the last stream, the TPS committee. And I just wanted to say how easy it was to show the last stream. So the way that I came to know about it was one of my friends who has TPS and also works in janitorial services at Emerson. And he's one of my best friends in Boston for the last 8-9 years. And he said, let's go to Harvard to this conference. And I met José Palma. He told me about the last stream. I immediately, when I got home, I watched it. I got a phone call that night saying at a conference called a Teach-In on Race, which is campus-wide, it was going to happen in 2 days, that they had a cancellation, and I said, let's show the last stream. And so 10 minutes later, I emailed José Palma. He then put me in touch with V and a group. Within 48 hours, we had a showing. I was worried. I thought, well, with 2 days' notice, how many people will show up, you know? But it was so easy to show it. It was something like 7 or 8 youth came in person, plus Jared, in person. And our center, it was at the Alma Lewis Center at Emerson College in downtown Boston, it was flooded. In fact, we were breaking fire code, and the security people came in because, you know, we were violating fire code. It was standing room only. And then they started watching the documentary, and they had tears in their eyes, and they're like, never mind. And they stayed, instead of kicking us out, they stayed, watched the documentary, and then listened to the youth. So I would encourage people to, if you can, commit to finding 3-5 people among your friend group, your work network, your schools, your churches, community organizations, and host a showing. It is so easy to put together. And now with the Zoom and, you know, all the technological capabilities are so improved for tragic reasons because of the pandemic, COVID pandemic. And it's the truth. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of that. And you never know what will grow out of it. So I'm a writer. I work with community publishing, community archive making. I work a lot with refugees, people displaced by war, who are among the most mobile people in the world and have the least access to share their own stories about being displaced. So they're displaced from their stories of displacement. And that's the most dangerous position to be in, because then other people represent you. So that's why we made the zine. I encourage you to see it. It's short little stories, little paragraphs, and gorgeous photos that each person chose from a TPS family or ally to talk about what TPS is, what we can do, and why we care.
Thank you so much, Tam. Unfortunately, we have to end this session because our next session starts in 10 minutes. I wish we can keep talking. Thank you all so much for coming and for sharing and letting us be part of the campaign and teaching us so much. We're happy to help, and we look forward to helping more and talking offline and finding other ways to do more things. Please stay in touch. If anyone else has questions or wants to connect, you can always email Stephanie or myself. We're happy to put you in touch. You can also find the video link. You can use it, share it. You can also Google Boston Experimental Theater. You can find all the material and information there as well. Vahdat, do you have anything else to end before we close this session?
On behalf of the company and Massachusetts TPS community, I want to thank you, Marina, Stephanie, and everyone from Refugee in Town once again for having us here, and very importantly for having such a conference, important discussion during this very, very important time, not only in the US, but in the world. I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you for having us here, and thanks everybody else for joining us here.
Thank you all very much.